Hey friends, it's Tiffany with Evolutionary Consulting, Neuroscience for Everyday People. Today I want to talk to you about transformation, and particularly our brain states that either hinder our success in transformation or really support our success in transformation. So let's start, I want to just jump right into this. Let's start by talking a little bit about the default state of the human brain. So if we are not engaged in something, so really engaged in something where we're really thinking about it and our brain's involved in it, if we're not there, we are in one or more of the default areas of the human brain. So let's talk a little bit about these because they can really be problematic when we talk about our success. So the first one is our brain engages in what's called running commentary, which essentially is just us processing our current situation, our present moment, but we're placing judgment on it. It tends to be negative judgment. So we're thinking about, is this good or bad? Do I like it? Do I not like it? What should be happening? So what should I be doing? Maybe that person should be doing something different. Maybe I should be wearing something to make it more comfortable, to make it a better situation. If I was wearing this, it would be a worse situation, for example. So we're just constantly judging ourselves and other people in this running commentary. So that's the commentary state. The second, which is engaged when we're resting, is what's called time travel. And time travel is the idea that our brain is going either into the past and thinking about how things used to be. Very often when we go into that area of where things used to be, we also reconstruct it to be this really amazing situation where it really may not have been. So we are then reliving a scenario that may or may not have been true. And then we time travel to the future. So we take our experiences and we time travel and decide what could be happening in the future, what might not be happening in the future. We're creating these systems that might be beneficial, they might be problematic, but they're not real. We're just kind of creating these scenarios. The third area that's activated when we're at rest in our brain state is that we begin, I call it building self. And I do this around self because it's not as positive as it might sound. So it's actually called, in the neuroscience world, it's called self-referential processing. If you're familiar with the work of Eckhart Tolle, you would know it as the ego, but it's this rigid sense of who we are. So this is who we are. This is these are the things that I like. These are the things I do not like. This is what I believe in. This is what I don't believe in. Because I am this way, people should treat me like this. It's really defined and rigid. What happens is this, when we're talking about transformation, we're talking about change, this particular one can really be an issue because when we think about who we are, and if that's really rigid and defined, and then we think about changing something or going somewhere else, we might see ourselves as wrong or broken. I want to be, in order to be or do something else, it means that this rigid sense of self has to change, which can make it really difficult to have a transformation without criticizing who you are, without seeing this rigid sense of self as wrong, for example, some sense of that as wrong. So again, in the default mode, we are just engaging in that sense of self, of rebuilding or creating ego, who we are and really defining who we are, and then deciding if this current situation aligns with that. And our fourth brain state that we go into is social cognition, which means that we are basically taking ourselves and placing it amongst other people. So we're deciding who are all these people around me. I might put them into categories. They might be family, friends, enemies, neighbors, all of the above. We are deciding, are we doing better than these people? Are we doing worse than these people? We're just kind of setting ourselves in a social setting and then, again, placing judgments on that. In our natural default state, so those are the four areas, they all tend to be negative. They all tend to be judging, for example, that that our behavior or other people's behavior is wrong or should change. So it's kind of got this negative connotation. So I think the most important thing to recognize is that if your mind wanders in this way, where you're time traveling, you have a social commentary or a running commentary that's going, you're comparing yourself against others, you're defining yourself, if that's constantly happening for you, congratulations, you are normal. It is not a unique human experience. It is the human experience to do this. Where this really becomes problematic is when we're talking about transformation. If this is the platform that we are approaching transformation, it can very easily pull us away from successful transformation because we're living in the past or in the future. We're judging with a negative connotation. We're comparing with a negative connotation, and it pulls our energy that is required for transformation. You know this. When you want to really change and create new habits, it's a stressful and energy intensive process where we have to be in this moment making decisions that are different than what we've been doing. And that takes self-compassion. It takes self-kindness. It takes being in this moment. And if we are instead working from the default place, it can make it extremely difficult and set us up for failure. So how do you approach transformation from a different mindset? And what I'll tell you first and foremost is that it is absolutely possible. It's been shown through both neuroscience and psychological tests that we can create this other alternative mode. Where we see it the most is with people who regularly practice mindfulness and meditation. So mindfulness is really that idea that I am here in this moment right now. So if you consider the idea, let's say my transformational goal, my new habit that I want to create is better communication with my employees, for example, or with my colleagues. And that's really what I want to do. I'm in this meeting. It's getting really stressful. People are having difficult conversations. If my mind is wandering, if my mind is doing what it does as a human, and I start to place judgment and I start to think things like, man, in the past, this is how this would have done. And in the future, this is how this is going to go. And I kind of live out this scene. And I'm also judging whether these people are right or wrong or good or bad. I'm deciding whether they're friend or enemy. I'm deciding how they should be treating me because of who I am and the role that I play. If that's how I'm coming at a change in my communication with these folks, I probably am not going to be successful. I'm probably going to go into defending myself. I'm going to sink down into lower brain because I feel threatened. My sense of self is threatened. And I might respond, or rather, I might react. I probably would react. If I am in a mindful state, it means I'm in this moment right now. I'm listening to really hear what's happening. And I might, instead of just going into lower brain, I would maybe be pulled, which we do when we're in the mindful state, into thinking brain and ask a question to clarify, which would be different than what I would do over in my default state. Being present means I might, instead of speaking at all, I might listen longer and wait for somebody to get through a defensiveness mode, get through their default brain to their point, basically. I'm choosing to do something different because in mindfulness training, what we see in brain scans is that there's more activity and stronger connections, more neuron connection in the thinking brain in this area, in this region, which is key to us responding rather than reacting. And when we're talking about any type of transformation, we want to experience it from a state of right now, what's happening right now in this moment so that I can make a decision to move forward rather than being in this default state, which again pulls us away from successful transformation.